to know this. The Koch brothers and their buddies in the American Legislative Exchange Council are coming for your kids' elementary school. A new report from the Center for Media and Democracy's PR Watch says that the American Legislative Exchange Council, the conservative lobbying group, more commonly known as ALEC, has ramped up its campaign to corporatize our public schools during the first half of this year. Since January, conservative lawmakers across the country have attached to their state's budget bills 139 different ALEC-drafted education proposals. So while corporate schools participating in the program get a nice chunk of tuition and profit in the form of taxpayer money, the most vulnerable students don't get a decent education. The so-called Environmental Literacy Act requires public school science teachers to teach the controversy about global warming. In other words, it forces public school teachers to use the fossil fuel industry's big lie and teach kids about Flat Earth Society's pseudoscience that denies man-made global warming. A quick glance at ALEC's backers reveals the real reason for this push to so-called education reform. As that Center for Media and Democracy report points out, for-profit education corporations like Corinthian Colleges and K-12 Inc., whose CEOs serve on ALEC's Education Task Force, by coincidence, all stand to make big bucks when states approve ALEC's legislation. And you and I, of course, are expected to foot the bill with our taxpayer dollars, paying for vouchers and subsidies. Privatize the gains, socialize the losses. And if we don't do something quick, it could be game over for public education in America.
There are numerous deep shale gas basins in the United States which contain trillions of cubic feet of natural gas.
In fact, North America's natural gas supply is so plentiful it has been described recently by some experts as a virtual ocean of natural gas. We believe the potential from these four major shale basins is enormous, and it is a game changer not only for America's natural gas industry, but also potentially for our nation, our economy, and our environment.
I'm here today representing the 30 member states of the Interstate Oil and Gas Compact Commission, who produce 99% of our domestic oil and gas. Studies and surveys by GWPC, EPA, and IOGCC over the last 11 years have found no real credible threat to underground drinking water from hydraulic fracturing.
Recently, however, there has been concern raised about the methods to tap these valuable resources. Technologies such as the practice of hydraulic fracturing have been characterized as environmentally risky and inadequately regulated. Press reports and websites alleging that 6 states have documented over 1,000 incidents of groundwater contamination resulting from the practice of hydraulic fracturing. Such reports are not accurate.
And it's my firmly held view, and also that of IOGCC, that the subject of hydraulic fracturing is adequately regulated by the states and it needs no further study.
Energy bill pushed through Congress by Dick Cheney exempts the oil and natural gas industries from the Safe Drinking Water Act. They were also exempt from the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Superfund Law, and about a dozen other environmental and democratic regulations. And when the 2005 energy bill cleared away all the restrictions, companies like Encana, Williams, Cabot Oil and Gas, and Chesapeake began to use the new Halliburton technology, and they began the largest and most extensive domestic gas drilling campaign in history. The method of gas drilling they use is called hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. It blasts a mix of water and chemicals 8,000 feet into the ground. The fracking itself is like a mini earthquake. The intense pressure breaks apart the rock and frees up the gas. In order to frack, you need some fracking fluid, a mix of over 596 chemicals. From the unpronounceable, to the unknown, to the too well known. Each time they drill a well, they need between 1 and 7 million gallons of water. Each time they go back and frack an existing well, they need an additional 1 to 7 million gallons of water. They can frack a well up to 18 times in its life. In a place called Dimock, Pennsylvania, about 40 miles from the New York-Pennsylvania border in the Susquehanna River Basin. A company called Cabot Oil and Gas from out of Houston had drilled over 40 wells in just under a few months.
When Cabot and them came in to get the water and they were telling me it was okay to drink, I said, well, here, go ahead and drink it. And they wouldn't drink it.
I lived here 40 years and the water never had a problem with the water. And they drilled. After they drilled, the water was bad.
In the beginning of November, our water turned color. It had started tasting funny, like a metallic-y, and then it turned brown, and then it looked like mud. Cabot sent Quantum Labs out to test it, and the guy looked at it and said, don't drink it, don't shower in it, don't do your laundry, don't do dishes, don't do anything in it.
So his hair's falling out?
Yeah, and he's losing weight.
Since basically the same period of time? Hi. Our water was perfectly fine. And like right after we started drilling, like propane and stuff like that all went in it. But at one point we could actually like light it on fire.
I prepared a statement kind of outlining everything, you know. The director of the oil and gas, or acting director of the oil and gas said, next question.
That was Dave,
Neslin. Or
Yeah, he kicked us out of his office 2 days ago.
So is there like a theme to your documentary? Do you have a message you're trying to get across with it? I apologize very much for your inconvenience. I wish you good luck with your documentary.
Okay.
I'd be happy to talk to you off the record with some background information if that's helpful.
Oh yeah, I saw it go up for a second.
Yeah. We'll just give it a second here. Whoa, Jesus Christ.
And each one of those hours cuts through the false left-right paradigm pushed on us by the corporate media. But I haven't only called out the press for its failure in covering real stories. I've also given a voice to those overlooked by the MSM. This show has provided a platform for countless activists, artists, and government whistleblowers to tell their stories. And it's also tackled issues that are never touched by the corporate-run news, like Monsanto, GMOs, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the privatization of water, just to name a few. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, or the TPP, which is being touted as the world's largest free trade agreement, has just entered its 18th round of negotiations. The problem is that these negotiations are being conducted in total secrecy. The agreement isn't really about trade. You see, the TPP would put into place international laws that supersede state sovereignty, adding limitations to everything from food safety to internet freedoms. 11 countries are current signatories to the TPP, and most recently Japan has announced that it also intends to join. The secret of meetings between governments and hundreds of corporate advisors, a slow-motion coup d'etat on democracy. So to help me break down why you should care about the TPP and how you can stop it, I'm joined now by Lori Wallach, Director of Global Trade Watch at Public Citizen. Thank you so much for coming on, Lori. So you're an expert on trade policy. How is the TPP different than, let's say, NAFTA, CAFTA, the WTO?
Its scope is much more behind the borders. So there's very little real trade of physical things crossing borders. Rather, it's something like branding it a trade agreement, but really it's kind of diplomatic legislating. So you have trade negotiators who think of their constituency as just the big U.S.
It was hard to believe my eyes. As far as I could see, the surface of the Gulf, streaked with oil like ghosts along the surface. Nothing could really prepare you. We hadn't seen pictures like this on the news. It had been widely reported that journalists' flights were restricted to 3,000 feet and above. Journalists would call up the FAA to clear their flights, and BP would answer the phone. I don't know why. Maybe because it was a Sunday, maybe because it was the 4th of July and everybody was off. But somehow we got clearance to fly at any altitude we wanted. So this is what it really looked like. Down on the ground, we weren't so lucky. Limited access to beaches, but we weren't the only ones hitting roadblocks.
I was getting pretty good at this, I guess. You don't really have time to sit back and say, why the hell is this happening?
Why is BP, are they in the back pocket? They got a cozy deal? Is there lobbyists in Washington controlling this?
The F word isn't in the dark anymore. It's an outright hit. Fracking was number 3 on the list of most popular words in the English language in 2011.
And they can do that in a way that gives you little opportunity to be able to defend yourself. That puts, I think, all of us at risk.
ExxonMobil didn't write $1 billion check in one election, but the fossil fuel industries combined contributed $150 million to the 2012 election, and Common Cause tracked lobbying expenditures $747 million to gain and keep the exemption to the Safe Drinking Water Act, known as the Halliburton loophole for hydraulic fracturing. Considering that's just one election and one exemption to one law, $1 billion is actually the low end. Okay, we got it. Government's bought off. Calvin and Tiffany had to make a painful decision. With Clay's asthma and Josh's nosebleeds, and with Calvin knowing full well from the air monitoring stations that he had fought to get installed exactly what was in the air and dish, they decided to pick up and leave. You know things are bad when the mayor moves out of town.
This won't do me any good anymore. No more free dish network. When we signed up, we're going to get cable installed, and it reminded me how much that stuff actually costs. So, I'm going to miss free dish network. So these people are coming out here spending their life savings on a house, and then you're stuck. There's nothing you can do. This is the view where you have to ask yourself, my God, would I really want that in my backyard? Because it's in this guy's backyard. He's in litigation with him. You know, they ruined this guy. This horse started having health problems, started dying, started having miscarriages, started having neurological problems. Strangely enough, there's a bunch of neurotoxins in the air. Funny how that works, isn't it? This guy had his house for sale for years, couldn't sell it. These people got their house on the market, they're not gonna be able to sell it. This guy lost $100,000 in property value in his house. About half of the people that are on this road right now just filed suit against those companies. So, about every other house, you could say. I hope that these people get enough money out of their suit that they can move out of here.
Hearing, you have to sign up and register. We followed the protocol, we signed up. We knew the rules. If someone was speaking in public, that meant they could be recorded. And the First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law impeding the freedom of the press. That meant, to me, that no matter which representative told me that I couldn't come in that day, the Constitution guaranteed my rights.
Has press already gone in?
There's no press covering, no credentialed media signed up to cover the hearing.
Uh-huh. Of course I knew what might happen. I didn't think it would. I thought they would actually cave and realize that we were on the right side of the First Amendment. But I have to say I wasn't surprised.
Sir, you are not allowed in with the camera.
It had been demonstrated to me over and over again that certain elements within Congress and the gas industry had gotten used to treating the Constitution just as they had treated the fossil fuels they extracted, as a relic left behind from the past that they had every right to burn.
I am not going to remove the camera.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, stop.
We have also sent emails.
You have to be credentialed.
We have also sent emails, and we have talked.
Yes.
Do your duty, officer. All right. Sir, turn around and put your hands behind your back for me, please.
Come on, Mr. Chairman.
What's the decision?
Chairman, we discussed this before. This is a public hearing. This is a public hearing. I'm within my First Amendment rights, and I'm being taken out.
Well, but before the meeting is done, before the company's had a chance to discuss the issue, this guy's being led away again. I'd like to move that he be allowed to film it.
Where's the transparency?
They led me out of the hearing room. I was told I was the first journalist to be arrested in Congress simply for doing journalism.